So there's been lots of new developments since I first posted the video about DrLupo and the game that took place a couple of days ago. And I wanted to go over all the new updates and share my thoughts because they're still trickling in. Even today, it's Friday. The game was played Wednesday. So first things first, I upload the video. Nothing had been confirmed yet. I gave my suspicions. And if you can read between the lines in my body language, I knew, and it was very strong, but I knew that chess.com was looking into it, and that's on them. So 30 minutes after my video, DrLupo tweeted, regarding chess.com PogChamps tournament, I had a ton of fun playing, but I've decided to drop out of the event to help maintain competitive integrity for those involved, as well as the tourney organizers. Having the main stream up on my left monitor over the course of the day today to watch other games being played led to me getting move information I shouldn't have had for a game. That's on me and no one else. That's my fuck up. I apologize. You'd think I would know better, but here we are. That's at 9:56 p.m. the day of. And then 30 minutes later, chess.com posted a tweet. DrLupo is being closed for a fair play violation that occurred during today's PogChamps. He'll be replaced before the start of tomorrow's round. Blah, blah, blah. We wish everyone good luck and don't violate our fair play policy. And that looks like this. Then you could go to his account on chess.com, closed, fair play, permanently closed. So that's the first wave of some sort of admission of guilt. But I want to backtrack to that first tweet and the chess.com one is they're vague. It means that the threshold of fair play violation has been breached, but his explanation is pretty light and not necessarily matching up what people were thinking of, right? The main stream was open on his left and he couldn't help but look at it. He mentions other games being played and he got move information I shouldn't have had for a game. Almost like, he glanced and moves started appearing that, he just couldn't help. It influenced his thought process and the moves that he ended up making, which is on the spectrum of it, it's on the lighter side. It paints that impression. And then, at the time, people were saying, hey, great on you for admitting it, blah, blah, blah. But then the chess community, since we've been through it and it's a pretty well-established game and we've had lots of these occurrences, like that doesn't add up. And if you don't know and you're not from chess, I'll explain pretty briefly. The mainstream, Amon was commentating and other commentators, they were covering a bunch of games at once. Those other games had nothing to do with DrLupo's games. They weren't similar. There's a bit of a delay. So even if you're watching the broadcast, it's not real time to the game that's being played. So if he was glancing around, they weren't covering. I watched the broadcast, other people did as well. They weren't covering DrLupo's game most of the time. And even when they were covering it, quite often he made his move before they had started talking, about the move. And then, one of the more obvious things is the commentators aren't giving 26 straight, top engine moves in a row. They're explaining the moves, they're explaining the ideas, but in this, they're not giving 26 top moves in a row. So people are looking at that and they're wondering, they're not satisfied. The internet mob was still not satisfied because that doesn't add up still. And it doesn't take very much to conclude that. And chess.com's tweet sounded like, hey, they wanted to let everyone know something happened, but they didn't want to necessarily add further to the witch hunt. They had to address it because it affects the tournament and there needs to be an explanation. But just a fair play violation, it's still a little bit vague. And DrLupo is the only one providing his perspective. So someone could just see this tweet and DrLupo's tweet and say, oh, okay, he got kicked out for watching the broadcast and influencing his moves like that. Well, that was the day of the event, the evening of, and that wasn't enough. People were doing the research and coming to the conclusion, dude, that doesn't add up. So then the next day, which is Thursday, game was Wednesday, today's Friday, Thursday's the next day, DrLupo wakes up and, starts his stream. And I'm going to play a clip from that.
I really do respect that you owned up to it. Can you comment on whether it was an engine or not? So when I posts on Twitter about it. That at that point I come clean, and whether you believe that or not, that's fine. Ultimately, the moves I'm assuming then came from a cheat engine, because if they were 26 perfect, yeah, they obviously had to be sourced from that.
Okay, so
What do you plan?
he talks that he had the tweet, whether you believe it or not, because people are coming in saying, hey, I don't believe it. Now the story changes to that he assumed the moves were engine based and coming from the chat. Well, if you watch my video or any of the videos related, from the actual, his perspective, he had told, people that he didn't have the chat open. Right? So first, he says he doesn't have the chat open the day of. Then in the first confession, he's saying he had the broadcast open and he was influenced by it. And then now he's saying the chat was giving moves. But then if you think about it that way, and now people continue to jump on DrLupo because the story keeps changing in various degrees, nothing adds up. But if you're a 600 player, even if you're a grandmaster like myself, and the chat on Twitch, on YouTube is just spamming moves and putting moves. Some people are just writing normal moves. Some people maybe are using an engine and showing the best moves. But how would DrLupo know to select out of all the chat every single time selecting the best move? So that's a logical breakdown that refutes what he said. But then we have the internet detectives like you guys on YouTube. They pulled up the chats. They pulled up the chats. They pulled up the chat logs. The detectives were everywhere. And they matched it up. And it's like, no, these moves weren't being suggested most of the time. And to be able to decipher if they were the best moves would not be doable. But the moves weren't even being suggested all. Sometimes he was playing a really good move before, it hadn't even been written in any of the chats. So this is like a second confession where things shift, and it's still, people are calling complete BS on it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. You can disprove it multiple ways, and it just makes DrLupo look worse and worse. And so, normally there's already a huge amount of shame for cheating, especially if you're streaming, and it's like, okay, admit it, and it's already really, really bad. Still, for me, I still don't know why. I can't believe he did in the first place or thought he could do it, but you admit it. You can already tell this is way above his understanding, cheating in chess, but he's still trying to find some reasoning that he hopes people will buy. That still lessens its admission, but it makes it still seem more unintentional. Oh, but first it was a broadcast. Oh, then it was a chat. I just couldn't help looking at the chat or pulling some moves from the chat. So it's still not the full picture, and you could just say straight up lying, right? So that's day 2, the day afterwards. And people, of course, are still going into his channel, posting online, all the receipts being like, this did not happen. So that's confession number 2. And now today, being Friday, we have a last confession. We have the final confession that I've seen so far. DrLupo writes, I screwed up big time. The internet has been right basically since the beginning, and it's taken me multiple waves of self-reflection and internal fighting to get to the point where I can fully admit fault without holding back. I lied to the internet repeatedly. I cheated and betrayed the trust of countless people that believed in me. Viewers, families, friends, everyone, myself. I carry a lot of baggage. And you all got exposed to it in the worst way. I lied directly to Danny Wrench. Danny coached DrLupo, probably was invited. DrLupo was probably invited by Danny. DrLupo says, I lied directly to Wolfie. You guys heard the call in my first video. That was a crazy call. And used him as a prop on stream. He didn't deserve that. None of you did. I messaged him directly to apologize, and I'll gladly do it on stream too. Now here comes more of the confession in terms of like specifics. I've spent a big part of my life being really good at games. When I suddenly wasn't good enough, I lied. Between games while waiting, they said to be sure to only have one chess.com window open. So I was playing games against the computer on my other monitor using leechess.org, where my chat window usually is to practice between rounds. Once I blundered my queen, I panicked. I used the analysis feature there, and my brain couldn't stop after that. I figured out the lines, but every time I panicked after that, I did it again. It wasn't something that I planned on doing. I really did practice quite a bit leading up to the event. There's more to this. He talks about mental health in the chess community, but the second part is more specifics, and I simply have to talk about it. In my first video, I looked at both of his wins against Wolfie. That's why it was a long video. And in this paragraph, he mentions he starts using it after blundering the queen. In my opinion, both the games are very suspicious. And the first one he won, it's the one where he trapped a knight with his king and made some very nice rook moves. That to me was a complete red flag and way above his level and didn't make any sense at all. In this confession, funny enough, he references lead chess. Probably not something chess.com and Danny are too happy about in terms of, competitor. But he's saying he's like practicing and he's using the analysis feature. Is lead chess like broadcasting the games? No, he's like, no, I mean, like this doesn't satisfy me. It still doesn't add up because he's saying hinting that he only used it for one game. He says he figured out the lines, but every time I panicked after that, I did it again. I don't know what figured out the lines mean. I mean, I think what everyone's thinking is you used an engine. It wasn't from the chat. It wasn't from the broadcast. You had the game up in some separate tab, some platform, whatever platform, but you had the game open and it was being updated live where you could see the top moves available and then play them. And like I don't think that's very complicated, but even in this third confession, we're still not fully there yet. It still like it still doesn't make a lot of sense. And as I said, both games, I looked at some other games. He says he practiced a lot, but we have a basis. We have his 2 games against Wolfie, where you see the body language, you see the moves, you see some accuracy, and then you see all of his other games as a 600 rated player on his account, on stream against other PogChamps players, and he's playing like a 600 player. Hanging stuff, doesn't know what's going on. That's fine. It's an event for that, right? Like whatever. But again, so this is the final confession and the latest one as of Friday night. And yeah, because it keeps changing, it's like on one hand people might be like, oh, the chess community is a big mob. Well, it's just we're not that dumb about this that we can just buy these like half-assed or BS explanations, right? Like and so I still don't know what's going on, why there's still these confessions being posted like that instead of just fully coming clean. But again, like, hey, maybe something is off of someone's life to lead them to do it. But I'm just speaking from a chess perspective because I do cover lots of cheating in chess. I've done that for years. And, it's like we know what's going on and it's not matching up with what you're saying. Funny enough, in this whole, like, I'll even show you a little bit more, right? So when he posted his very first apology, that I spoke about at the start of this video, he had some replies in it, right? So look at this. Ludwig writes to him, the streets are saying it was an engine. Are the streets keeping it 99? He says, believe me or not, I played what I played. Pulled from chat though. Couldn't stop looking, which as I said, I know better. Well, so in the replies, no, that didn't happen. And it took a couple days to get to the point where engine use was admitted. There might be some other replies here. Bro doesn't realize that chat was giving him engine moves. He responds, oh, I'm assuming this was the case. Yeah, chat giving engine moves. So it's just being it's just repeating itself. The funny thing about this final confession, it's a side note, is Kramnik responded, "No need to be that self-critical. You just did what many profis, I think he means professionals, doing constantly and without any regrets or apologies. For me personally, the statement is enough to cross out the story. I wish professional cheaters would have half that strength and self-reflection to do the same." Well, I'm going to address this comment. You should be self-critical. I don't know why Kramnik is saying that if he has a huge issue against cheating online. And this statement is enough to cross out the story. It's not self-reflection. He brings up self-reflection. Is this self-reflection? Every single confession, he had to write a new one because you could actually just prove it was false. So I don't know, that's not self-reflection, that's getting caught. And each time it's getting caught. So it just does not feel as, respectable or genuine as just coming clean the first time. So yeah, even this is the latest post, it took a lot of confessions to get to the point where now it's like he's using an engine, but don't have a very good impression of the whole case. And it makes sense why everyone was so aggressive in the comments and online, people from chess, people from outside of chess, because nothing made sense. And it still surprises me that he kept thinking over and over that he could fool the internet in something like cheating in chess on stream. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I don't think there's going to be anything more on that. I mean, this is the best apology to date. And so like, I'm not going to make more videos on this topic, but I was just breaking down the timeline of each confession and how it stands, compared to what happened. Hopefully it's a really big lesson, not just in the cheating aspect and why it's not good, but the accountability part of it, type of thing. And the final part of it is today he streamed again, and he does admit on video
that
about
I fucked up
the engine.
And I deserve 100%. I deserve 100% of what people are saying. Using the engine to fix my own fragility is fucking pathetic. Yeah.
So that's from Friday today. Posted the tweet as well. And those are just my thoughts on the whole situation. And it's just a sad situation overall. Curious what you guys think, but yeah, I don't think I'll be covering it anymore. I want to give a shout out. The event did finish today, and I coached him a couple of times. He's a busy guy, but Eberechi Eze won PogChamp 6. He had a great performance, was pretty consistent. He's one of the best footballers in the world, and he really, really had a nice chess performance throughout the whole week to take down he won the event. Don't want to take away from that. Really happy seeing that, and I think things ended well there. But this was the whole DrLupo episode. Signing off. Curious to hear your thoughts as always, but we hope that there's less of this moving forward. Thanks for watching, guys.